Welcome to the House of Entrepreneurs, where we help others pursue entrepreneurship. Now, I'm so happy today because we usually on such days we have guests and people who are in entrepreneurship. We don't just bring people who talk about theory, but people who are actually real entrepreneurs, people who are doing stuff out there. And today I have a guest who is doing amazing things, and I'm so happy. It's going to be a good conversation. So let's get into it and welcome Mr. Aham. Thank you so much for
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you so much for agreeing to come and share your experience. And would you please tell my viewers what you do and basically what led you to go into what you do?
Yes, hi. My name is Aham. I am a lead baker at Mahala Bakery. It's a small baking business. It started in shared kitchen. Now we produce commercially in our own space. And we basically focus on an artisanal, savory Mediterranean baked goods. We've taken a twist on our traditional baked goods, such as like Mediterranean baked goods and savory flatbreads, and just make it a little bit unique, make it a little bit more artisanal and ours, with a little bit inspiration from the whole Eastern Mediterranean in all of our products.
Oh, nice. So you said you have your own space.
Yeah.
How long have you done this?
So I started, the idea conception was in 2019.
Okay.
My first operation or first sale, you can say, was in January 4th, 2020.
Okay.
So at the beginning, it was before all the crazy was happening. So we started with a shared kitchen with using space. And to describe the shared kitchen, it's a commissaries that is built for small food businesses who want to start launching food. And to be able to sell in many products, you require in a commercial space, not from home. So we started from there because our products kind of like fall under that niche products. And we started producing a shared kitchen, rented once a week, produce, sell in a farmer's market in the weekend. And from there we expanded and doing other farmers market. And last year where we start focusing on our wholesale accounts and we start building in that segment of the market.
I like that what you're saying, that you started by renting out space once a week. So that means for someone out there who wants to start but they're like, I have no money for startup and what. I think that's a good point that you're raising, that you can start small by even renting a kitchen for once a week. So because then your costs of operations are lower.
So it is true, lower, but not in that much as people assume. So I would say, and this is what I advise anyone in baking, is if you can figure out a way to produce from home as a start, you're not going to be much scale. You're not going to produce much, but it allow you to minimize the effect of the rent and commercial licensing and all of that cost, and produce from home. Even if you have only 2-3 products from 6 products you have that can produce from home, get a license, get certified, and start selling in a small market, or maybe start not as a farmer's market. No need to get licensed, just sell between friends to see if your products are give free. Actually, I would advise, because you technically cannot sell. Provide a free product and see which one of your products are worth it, and you're gonna realize a lot of products that you will produce might not really worth it. Even if it sell well, when you start scaling up, you realize it's not worth it. So this is my recommendation: start from home if you're capable. If you're not, then renting a commercial kitchen is a lower cost point of entry. To open a shop, you're talking about 6-digit number cost you to operate, with a small margin of profit. And if you do not hit those 6-digit number sales annually, you're a good chance you're going to default within a year or two of business. So it is a lower cost of entry. However, the margin of cost per hour per product is a little bit higher. So the shared kitchen Most of them you rent per hour.
Yes.
Or per day, or depending on the product. So when you're talking about, let's say, oh, I'm gonna produce, let's say, 100 pieces a day, and you went there for 10 hours.
Yeah.
$30 to $50. That's about $300 to $500. So 100 piece will cost you about $5 each. So you really want to think about your product, what it will require. Does it require long operation, multiple days? Then that model of shared kitchen might not be your best. But there are other ways. Sometimes you partner with another bakery, another concept of shared bake space, whereas like, let's say, pizza shop. They typically operate from noon until like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And they free after that. And some cities will allow you to operate in that space. You get your own license. This way you share the cost of opening a shop with another business, as long as typically you don't sell product there. But the point is your product will determine if a shared kitchen is your best, and you have to look at your product, what is worth it.
Yeah.
What products are worth it. Sometimes some products, maybe material-wise, doesn't cost you much, but labor and time cost you a lot.
Yeah.
So shared kitchen might not worth it. You want to look at the type of character of the product you're trying to sell, what sell well. A shared kitchen might be an advantage or disadvantage. And some products might actually take the risk of like you have to open a whole commercial shop. I realized my products took a lot of hours of work, so shared kitchen was a big margin of my sales go just for the rent.
That makes sense.
I reach a point now is where, but I taken that risk.
Yeah.
I taken that risk because at the end, advantage of shared kitchen, let's say you tried for a year, it doesn't work, you're out. You maybe paid a lot of money, or I would say a lot of money, like about 10 grand or 20 grand in that year in rent, but you can just leave. And you don't have to worry about equipment. Most of them, they provide you equipment. Yeah.
And how has the experience so far been?
It's an interesting. So I started in January 2020. So at that point, there was the whole thing like about COVID. But this was like really not hitting the state until March.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, actually, my sales were pretty good prior to the shutdown. It started to grow. Obviously, it's just weekends, but it was going well. We shut down for 6 months. I went back to my previous bakery job because they needed help with the shortage of staff and all of that.
Yeah.
So I worked there, and I continued working with them for even when I back in operation. But retract to that point is after I shut down for 6 months, I started working with them, and then when the city started allowing, I was like, okay, let's try with the summer farmers market. That was rough for me. There was days that I sold for $70.
Oh wow.
And I had days where I sold almost like $500, $600 of products, and some days even more. But in general, that year was a tough year. But at the end, I persisted in it for another year to see where we can go with the business. But it was challenging because at that point, because of the sales were not coming, I could not hire anyone. So all the work have to be on me. And because there's not much income coming from there, so I had another job. So I was almost full-time another job while part-time in the business at the same time. And but by God's grace, we survived it. And the business, I would say it's now reaching a point where I'm switching from doing myself, the production, to having more hires. Currently, it's the stress no longer in the production part, but how can I provide for the staff that I have income? While at the same time don't bankrupt the business. So it's like now is like the challenges are different. So
there's I forget the book that I read. No, actually I know the book. It's called The E-Myth. Where I think it talks about the technical. One of them is it a technical entrepreneur, who is running, but now you have to shift from being like technical, what you're saying, like production, and now you're focusing on to trying to make systems work, we're
Yeah.
providing for employees and all that.
Yeah.
And of course, now seeing how to grow the business. Now, of course, you're talking about marketing and all, increasing your sales. Have you always had this desire in you to own your own stuff?
I'm honestly not much. Even I'm pursuing to make this work.
Yeah.
But my goals were, yes, I do enjoy owning my own business, but I will measure my success not by the business itself. So my success is based on the legacy that it will leave, rather than the dollar bill or the success. So the legacy the business can fail.
Yeah.
And I was telling someone, like, I'm actually comfortable with that.
Yeah.
But I will look at it as like, do my hopes of producing the good things that I desire manifested, whether it's in helping others with finding good food, helping others to have a good job and find a system, create a culture where personal growth and career growth can both work together, and at the end is inspired new recipes, food and new products, produce something that's forgotten about, such as making like pita bread by hand or flatbreads by hand. Now it's all commercialized. It's like these kind of like things that I aspire to keep it going. And I realized the only way to achieve my desires of what my labor is gonna be through my own business, rather than working under someone. Because once you work under someone, you inherit the culture that they desire, and the goals that they desire, which could lead to different way than what you want. And I know myself, I realized when I was working under other managers, they're good and I love them and I still have a relationship with some of them, is we seek different things in life, and I want to do things my own way, and I realized doing my own way sometimes hindering even them. So it's like might not be the best for me to work. So did I desire my own business? You can say true, but not in a direct way.
You seem to have a strong desire to leave a legacy, like what you just said. Where does this desire to leave a legacy, where does it come from?
It's through my nurture and my faith. So it's like both my faith is I would say I work with non-profit organizations before who is they invested in people, invested especially like with people in prison, and seeing their life change personally, and seeing how it's beautiful when you invest in something that have a meaning beyond just the numbers. To see the influence in people was influential for me. At the end is the space could manifest differently, but the goal can still be the same. So it's like I was talking with my wife early about where the business is gonna lead to, and we were talking. It's like I could continue to do commercially and do wholesale and expand here. I could open a shop. Neither of them are a bad thing. But is it something I want? And that's what's come faith is like, by God's grace, I'm hoping to leave the influence and the product that I want. And the product is not just the physical product. Well, that's maybe part of it. But also the product and life in general. What I would leave that legacy, whether it's in people, in my family, in the church, or in the community.
So you said you do wholesale with your product. So you make them and then you have to look for...
So it's the other way around. So retail is you have the finished product. You give it to the customer. Depending on the kind of product you produce. In my case, baked goods, it's baked prior. So you bake it, you go to farmer's market, or if people want to order for deliver, that's how you do. Wholesale is you are not the sell directly to customers. You sell to people who sell to customers. And wholesale typically it's through your relationship with distributors or stores, restaurants, or anyone who will sell the food to people. So I think people think of like wholesale more catering, but it's not really. It's more for not direct to consumer, but to people who will sell to consumer. And when you see like in the food trucks, specialty food trucks, and all of these things, they are generally, these are distributors. They produce product, they sell to stores, and the stores will sell to people. Wholesale approach it is differently. And something I'm learning in it. A wholesale will require you not just have a good product, but a good way to present the product and a relationship with a store or a restaurant or whatever it is to be like, this is the best way to market this product. And this is what we were gonna do. And you discuss with them and they will make a decision how much they wanna buy and all of that.
Yeah.
I do like the wholesale, you sell it cheaper.
Okay.
You sell it less than you sell, but part of it is like you don't have to have like front of a house person sit there. You don't have to have a storefront, so you reduce that cost by selling them, and you already know how much you sell. So wholesale, a lot of bakeries prefer that direction. Wholesale, less per product you make, but it's sustainable typically through the year. Like Whole Foods, for example, if you get a contract with Whole Food, they're like your wholesalers. They're great business. They can distribute you through the nation, but they generally have to work through distribution, and the process is complicated. The bigger the business you deal with wholesale, the more complicated the procedure. So if you deal with a small, your niche, cute little retail shop, they generally is like a more one-to-one. Directly you deliver for them and they sell for customer. The bigger the store, the more complexity. There's a lot of like legal parts in that.
And they have bureaucracies and all that, you know, like they need to check the, you know, the standards of, you know.
Some of them, like Whole Food or like other people, they might even come to your restaurants or your business and they do their own inspection. Or you partner with a third company that do auditing for your business and your process. And based on that, they determine if you will match the standard of production that they would desire. The bigger the store, the more they require that. Because with a larger operation and you have products from thousands of suppliers, you cannot know everything about them. And there's less tolerance for mistakes and errors. And sometimes their fees can be high. Good thing is like you get like a good amount of sale, but just sometimes, like I was talking to another baker I know, it took them 3 years to secure Whole Food. They wanted them in their stores. But the process of certifying, getting everything ready, packaging, the size of the product, the coloring of the box, the ingredients that you use, the labels, distribution, containers, all of that, it took them like 3 years of work until they reach a point where it's like, okay, now we can take your product. It costs a lot of money. It will cost you some big stores, because big contracts require like hundreds of thousands of dollars of investment before you be able to sell them a product.
How did you move from a shared kitchen to now having your own commercial space?
So it started with me investing, like with shared kitchen, most of them they provide you the larger equipment such as ovens, tables, and all of that. You still provide yourself like all the small utensils and tools and anything that will require for daily operation. When you want to move to your own space, you have to think about the paperwork with the licensing. The city will allow you to produce your product or not. The rent, that is different. With shared kitchen, it's like sometimes like, oh, now I'm paying about like, let's say 3,000 to 4,000 for a shared kitchen. That space, if I have my own space, is only like an extra 1,000. It's true, but can you guarantee that you're gonna match up to the rent with your sales through the whole year? Probably not. I mean, was for me at the beginning, probably not. Now I moved my own space, but it's still within a building with multiple other kitchens. I don't have like storefront or anything there, and I actually a very small operation.
So was it like money that you got from the profits that you reinvested?
So it's to answer more your first question where I got a little bit lost. As what I did is at the early of 2022, I start every year after a good amount of sales, I take part of that money and watch and hunt for equipment in a low price or in auction, of which I can use it for my operation. even though I did not direct at that point needed them, but it's more so accumulate equipment.
Yeah.
Now there's other approaches people do. I was doing it a little bit more organically because rather than one day start to go place and buy an oven for $10,000, $12,000 or $15,000.
Yeah.
I got one for $1,300.
Yeah.
In bidding.
Yeah.
I got another machine for $600. I got another machine for $2,000, something $3,000. Together alone, my equipment worth more than $20,000, but I pay less than $7,000.
Wow, that's good.
So in use condition, obviously,
Yeah.
but it's like in a hunt.
Yeah.
So I was using the money that I get. I was like, okay, I got this opportunity.
Yeah.
I get this machine. I get this machine. And I reach a point. It's like now I have almost everything I need to move to a small own operation.
Yeah.
Because at this point, to pay for a shared kitchen while I have all the equipment I need,
It doesn't make sense.
At that point it was not cost efficient even.
Yeah.
So even my move from shared kitchen to my own kitchen, my cost actually dropped a little bit because I was paying a lot for the shared kitchen.
Yeah.
I mean, you have the advantages there of like everything is included, but even with that, I was like in a little bit better place to do it myself.
Yeah. Do you find yourself making a better profit now that you are in your own space?
So I think the biggest advantage of my own space is I have a fixed cost of rent.
Okay.
This allow me to, if I decided to spend a little bit more time or have my hire or whoever work with me with the team to do something a little bit different.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about the cost of rent. It's already established. We already know it.
Yeah.
We calculate how much our price of the products and how much we typically sell to compensate for the rent.
Yeah.
This allow a little bit more freedom to do other things. Whereas let's say $20, $25, let's say an hour an employee, which is like become like really high these days, will be less than paying for employee and pay for the kitchen to try new products. So this one allowed me like freedom to do, for example, packing different products, experimenting with a new product and all of that, where there's no doubt of that stress of the extra cost of renting space.
What do you think is like your genius? Something that in this business that you know that you're good at, you know, is it like baking, is it marketing, is it operation, is it bringing people together? What do you think it is?
What I think versus what people think, it's a whole different thing.
Okay.
I think of myself a good baker. I don't think of myself a great baker. And I actually can testify I've seen bakers who are better than me. And I met some of them and I want to learn from them. Some people think like I'm much better baker than that, but I think as part of it, some people not experienced other bakers, and I've seen myself. I think my biggest strength is, while at the same time I realize I start learning my weakness in it. And I pray for God that I do not fail in it much, is the ability to continually working even when I'm tired and still have a positive energy on those around me.
Yeah.
So for example, I sometimes start my day at 3-4 a.m. I'm in the kitchen and then go to the farmer's market at noon and be there until 6 p.m. then go back to drop things. So it'd be more than 12-14 hours a day.
Wow.
And to have still that positive energy to interact with people, laugh with them, give a little bit vibe of hominess and connection. I feel like this has been a strength of mine, but it's a tiring because it involves a lot of this. I think another strength of mine is ability to adjust to situations fast and find a response to situation of which can maximize productivity or change the situation and don't get stressed out from it. It's a situation, that's fine. You run fast, you finish up, you work, you deal with it and respond. And I feel like a lot of people who want to be in entrepreneurship, this is one thing I would tell, is things aren't going to go smoothly. And when they go bad, how do you respond to it? It shows a lot about your character. And if you cannot deal with it, well, get ready. You're going to have to deal with it every day almost, depending on your production. Now, what I've learned in the last year, though this I was seeing like as a strength of mine, I was relying on it too much that I was not planning much and strategizing more to avoid these situations where I have to respond to these things. Because yes, most of the time I respond to these things and we resolve issues. but there's moments that did not resolve and we end up with a catastrophic result. Don't rely on yourself too much, even if you have strength in one thing. Find the ways to minimize the situations where you have to rely a lot on your strength. And strategy and planning and having people to help you out where they are stronger than you in some of these areas is better. Now I'm trying to be more planning and more strategizing about how to approach things, because my previous way, while I enjoyed it, having situation have to deal with it, is not helpful for the long term of the business.
How do you do your strategizing, like for the business? What's that process like? How does it?
So I would say the first thing is you be honest with yourself. Honest of your financial capabilities, honest of if your product actually sell, or if your product desirable. I remember in one meeting where we were in a class and someone was talking about, the business not selling much, talking about dropping the price, seeing other markets, and one mentor was saying, like, as much as we love our products, sometimes these products will not sell, and you're just gonna have to accept it. So I think that's maybe a little bit harsh, but sometimes it's like when you want to strategize, I had like so many products of mine. Some people like, actually 2 to 3 of them, people love it, but it's loved by a few people, and I love it by myself. And I had to be honest with myself. It's like, okay, this product's not gonna sell, it's not gonna be financially beneficial. So I decided to drop these products. This is one thing to look ahead. It's like, even if you grow, it's like sometimes you're just gonna have to remove. Second thing is honest about what it will take for you to be profitable in your business, and how far you have, how many things you have to do. And sometimes you look at yourself as realize, like, I'm not capable of this. So like, okay, maybe you're gonna have to shift a little bit in how you do things. Honest about another point I was learning about it. Honest is that mistakes can be very costly, and like I need to learn to minimize these mistakes. And another thing is like that's like from the honesty point. After that, I would say, I think if I want to strategize, I think part of it is willing to look at your finance part of it. Look at like cash flow. I'm learning like how to look at my cash flow better. And look about, if I want profit, it's like, okay, maybe I have to sell more, but it's like, but these contract, for example, will not come for another 6 months. What are you going to do from there to then? If you have employees, well, they need their hours. Sure, you can reduce their hours, but there's a good chance they're going to leave you. So you don't want to bankrupt before you get. And we're talking one of the mentors trainer in college, and he's talking about $1 billion contract for one of the airline companies. They bankrupt. Though that $1 billion contract for I think a manufacturer, they bankrupt, though they're expecting billions of dollars are going to come soon, but because their cash flow, they did not manage it well. They bankrupt before even reaching that contract. Now if they survive with some cash flow, plan it ahead, they most likely become a big company and competitive with Boeing and Airbus, but part of it not planning right.
So that I like what you've said, that when in strategizing, you need to be honest with yourself, be honest with your financial capabilities, and say, okay, yes, I'm strategizing, I'm planning for 6 months ahead, but with this money that I have, how am I going to spread it out for the next 6 months to make sure that all my employees are paid, my operation cost is covered. And so like that means you have to have some retained earnings in your in your bank account to keep some money, so that like you're saying, you don't run out along the way out of money, which might cause you become bankrupt. I like that point, because sometimes as entrepreneurs we it's hard to be honest with ourselves. You have a vision you want to run. You don't want to first look and say, how much do I have? You have to plan ahead, so that you make sure that you have all the building materials for you to reach that point that you want. Otherwise you're going to run bankrupt. Where do you see your business in 5 years?
I think the whole crazy of the pandemic had thrown off for me the planning for 3 to 5 years, and now I just try to aim for the next 3 years. I think each product or each segment or each industry will have a different kind of vision. Let's say I work in construction and I want to build like a complex of buildings. Yeah, you'll have to have like 10 years vision for that. You cannot have like 3 years vision. For me now, it's the result of the next 3 years will determine how I'm going to look at the next 5 years. And this year of moving to my own space and what's happening in it will reveal to me if my 3-year plan is something is reasonable or not. So I still think I'm now working in the process of formalizing a 3 years plan, or at least start with this 12 months plan. Because the previous plan, I built a couple plans based on expectation for a couple of things and it just did not fulfill. So now it's like, what's the approach gonna do? And I realize I am better by putting goals than a plan. And I start with what are the goals. It's like, for example, adding 4-6 whole accounts. Okay, what kind of accounts you will need? These kind of accounts. You start asking question going backward. And I still did not go all the way back to like how the plan gonna be like. I'm still in the process of the goals, what's my expectation from them financially, what does it require, and then after that it's like, okay, now I can put these requirements in a plan for a year. And then from there I start building. So I'm saying this because like I still have to see what this 12 months will say for my 5 years or like my 3 years, and how those 3 years was like, okay, that means in 3 years I'm planning to be this. I have to be plan A or plan B or plan C, or like there's different tangents of the same plan where it'd be like, okay, if this achieved like this financially and like employment and like contract, then I might move to this 5-year plan. And like, you know, where it's gonna be in, we are 2023, let's say 2027 where I want to be, or 2030. That's another weakness I learned is I'm proactive in some things, procrastinate in some things. And one of my biggest weaknesses is the planning ahead. And I'm more focused on achieving the goals and the desires and the influence I can leave in others than on the business itself. And I feel sometimes can be unhealthy and sometimes can be healthy. Both looking at what's the business mean versus where the business going to be. If you focus on one versus the other, you can get lost. And I think it's both a little bit.
It's good. Maybe this is my last question. If someone, let's say, is getting into entrepreneurship right now, or they are thinking of getting into entrepreneurship, or they have ideas in themselves but they don't know how to start, what would you tell them?
Honestly, first of all, I would say get a mentor. One of the hard things was for me is having a mentor to help out, to brainstorm, because mentors will ask you questions regarding your ideas and will help you go through the dust and like the fog of like where you see your vision. That will help you, and the more closer to the industry or like that you desire, the better. I would say like as I said, like it's depend on the industry, but I think one thing I would hope from anyone who doesn't know where to start is go and watch or work with someone who have something similar idea to yours. And from there you can learn a little bit. Before I started baking, I decided to work in a bakery for 2 years. And during my interview, asked me why you want to work here. I told them honestly because I want to start my own thing and I want to see what it takes to run a business.
Oh wow.
And they were open. They appreciated honesty and they were open. You might not get this chance all the time. Some people just say and then you're a competitor. But in most times it's like you just have an idea in your head. They're not seeing it as a competition. And many of them, they strive to teach others or show others what they take. So
I like that, you know, look for a place that has something that you aspire to and give your time and work there. So but also now that's to someone who is starting now. How about someone who what are the other values, like let's say persistence? Because I've seen one thing that was you were talking, because you said you started in 2020, shared space, and now you have your own space, starting to bring people, and that shows determination, it shows persistence, it shows self-drive.
Yeah.
What are some of those characteristics that you think are also necessary to be a good entrepreneur?
It sounds cliche, but I think also like humbleness a little bit.
Humility. Humility.
Yeah.
Oh.
I was a little bit ego about my ability to do things.
Yeah.
And God pushed me to the points where I broke apart as a person.
Yeah.
And at that point, I remember I was in the middle of the kitchen making the dough, and the dough was not working.
Yeah.
And it's like 3 a.m. in the morning, and I'm dying at that point.
Yeah.
It's been working night, and I just crash, like start screaming and slapping the dough.
Yeah.
And I remember at that point I start almost like crying on the floor. So depending on what you do, you might reach a point where you feel like all your strength they just disappear. Or maybe like while looking at your finance and seeing and realizing where you are, you're gonna be humbled. And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. You reach that point, you learn that you're still weak, and you persist in what you do, but you be humbled that you're not gonna figure out everything by yourself, and sometimes you're not gonna figure out how to do this business right. And that's fine, you know. I was talking with a friend of mine her father was an entrepreneur and trying 12 different products before he landed in the product that he has now. All of them failed, and they were poor for a while because of that. But now they're doing well for themselves. You're persistent. Don't persist in the product. Persist in your hopes. Your product might fail you.
Yeah.
The service might not be useful. But if you hold the hope in like something, then you try something different and different and different. If you're capable, if you're not, that's okay. You know.
Wow.
I'm comfortable with failure with the business and go back to doing work.
I like that so much, and thank you so much for the words of wisdom. I like what you said at last. You said persist in your hopes. The other things might fail, the business might fail, but may your dreams not fail, or hopes. Just keep persisting your hope, because like you're saying, products may fail, and you have to keep pivoting, changing, getting new products, throwing it, but you have to persist in your hopes. Thank you so much, Aham, for coming.
It was a pleasure.
I really had a good time, and thank you so much for watching. Please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next episode. Thank you.